Hey church, Pastor Shane here with another community group discussion starter video. This week we began our series in the book of Judges called In Need of a King. We're going to be in Judges for the next couple months. We'll take a break for Easter. We'll take a break to do a week on missions. But except for that, that's what we're going to be kind of doing, walking through that book forward. And it's a very, unusual book. It's the darkest, most brutal book in all of the Bible. There are stories in there that are going to shock and surprise you, but it's also, I think, an enormous encouragement to us as we see how God's character is developed in this book and how God's kindness and His mercy and His grace is towards those who He calls His people. If you believe in Jesus Christ, that's you and that's me. So today we kind of did an overview of the whole book, talking about the fact that Judges happens. It's a 330-year period of when Israel kind of first comes into the land. You know, it goes Egypt, released from Egypt, Moses leading them through the desert for 40 years, the wilderness. And then finally, in the book of Joshua, they come into the land and conquer much of the land God has called them to and take their spot up in it. But that during the book of Judges, there's this phrase that's used right at the end of the book. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Rather than obeying God, rather than treating Him like their ruler, instead of treating the law as the thing that would kind of run and rule over their lives, they ended up taking on the practices of the surrounding cultures. They ended up worshiping other gods, and it ended in disaster for them. And so they kind of keep getting stuck in this cycle that's determined by this phrase, in those days there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And so the cycle starts with disobedience. They disobey God by following these other gods and taking on the evil practices of the surrounding peoples. It leads to disaster for them because God's hand of protection is removed from them. They cry out sometimes, not every time. And then finally, God delivers them in amazing and miraculous ways, which really shows His grace and kindness. But we find out that 7 times in a row, they go back to doing what is right in their own eyes again. They did again, as it says in the text, evil in the eyes of the Lord, or in the sight of the Lord. And it kind of starts over again. And what we're going to learn through that cycle is both the darkness in our hearts and our need for God, and also why He is the worthy King for us to follow. That, we don't like kings here. I made the joke during the sermon. We're American, right? We don't like kings. And yet, in the case of God is not like human king, right? He knows best because He is our creator. And so we're going to both understand our need for God as we visit the darkness of our own hearts, but also just see His kindness and His graciousness to work with us as we turn our hearts and our minds towards Him. I think despite the darkness of the book of Judges, it's actually going to be an incredibly encouraging series, because it's going to make us look at our surrounding culture and be like, ooh, okay, what in that do we need to watch out for and avoid? What does Scripture, what does God tell us is the way in which we should walk? And as we investigate God's goodness and understand His ways are better, and we rely on His grace, and we come to a deeper understanding of His love for us, it will help us trust in God more and follow Him more, which is the pathway to human thriving and, of course, knowing Him. Just knowing Him is part of the gift that He has given us. So I hope it is that encouragement to you as well. And today's discussion will just kind of begin that journey of understanding God and understanding how He cares for us and how He disciplines us, but also just His character of goodness and grace and mercy and love towards us. I hope you have a great discussion.